Well, I guess if you wake up this morning and you're still a Minnesota Vikings fan, you've got to be wondering what has come to this franchise. Josh Freeman, did anybody really think he was going to be the answer? After living through Christian Ponder and Matt Castle, you signed Josh Freeman thinking he's going to provide the downfield threat. He couldn't get the job done in Tampa Bay when he was throwing to Vincent Jackson. Why the hell was he going to get the job done in Minnesota? Oh my God. Do you realize ESPN, because of their Monday night deal, which runs through the 2021 season with the NFL, is paying approximately $105 million per Monday night? Did anybody get their money's worth with last night's game with the Giants and Vikings? I mean, most of the gamblers here and the handicappers here at the site certainly did, because just about everybody had the big play on the Giants. But what an atrocious game. But here's the irony in it all. And believe me, I searched for the Monday Night Cable ratings before I started this video report, and unfortunately they're not available yet. But I'll bet you the Monday night ratings for that game will surpass just about every single one of your telecasts for the World Series, which starts tomorrow. Hi everyone, Al DeMarco here. This, of course, is going to be your Tuesday video report. I've got a free play coming up in just a moment on the Sun Belt game between Arkansas State and UL Lafayette. Plus, I've told you many times that one of the keys to my success, which hasn't certainly worked in the past 10 days, let me remind you, has always been when it comes to handicapping football and basketball, is reading about the games after the fact. You know, just because the games are played doesn't mean you immediately start looking at next week's lines. For me, it's going back, reading every single Associated Press game story, reviewing every single box score for every game played, because the writers, the guys in the press box, the guys in the locker room, whether they're in Texas, El Paso, whether they're in Ann Arbor, whether they're in Palo Alto, they're my eyes and ears. They're doing the research for me, so it's up to me to find out what happened in games. Whether I was on the game or on the wrong side of the game, the right side of the game is inconsequential. It's the research that pays dividends. Now, I realize that's not what you have time to do, but this is what I do 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So I'm going to talk about some of the interesting stats I came off or discovered while researching this weekend's college football games, and I'll pass them on to you as well. Let's talk about a couple of the handicappers. First of all, Brad Wilton joined this site a couple of days before the Super Bowl last year when he had a 40-dime winner on the Ravens. Over the past 3.5 months, since early July, all he has done is made $10 bettors a little over $9,500. He just hit his 100-time max wager winner number 8 out of 12 on Saturday when Oregon State kicked California's ass by 32 points. Well, tonight, it may be an obscure Sun Belt Conference game between UL Lafayette and Arkansas State, but it's his biggest release ever here at the site. Never has had to play this big, no matter the sport. It's his 150-dime game of the year, bigger than 100-dime winner number 8 out of 12 on Oregon State on Saturday, and it's on your side selection tonight, so you might want to check that out. Anthony Redd going for winning day number 9 out of 10 today. $10 bettors have won a little over $3,900 the past 9 days. Last night, he scored for the second straight Monday and the third straight day this weekend as he hit with his biggest Monday night play of the season with an 80-dime release on the Giants in that contest. Well, today, he has 50-dime college winner number 8 out of 11, and it's his first college football total of the year. You're over-under for Arkansas State and UL Lafayette, and it's going to be the $5 play of the day. You can get it by simply using coupon code REDD5. Now remember, that's his last name, R-E-D-D, and the number 5, R-E-D-D, and the number 5. That will get you the play and save you $80 in the process. Finally, Craig Davis going for winning day number 6 out of 7, 30-dime Sun Belt Game of the Month winner, the side selection tonight. He just hit his 5th straight 40-dime winner last night on the Giants. If you want to save $25 off a single purchase today, simply use this coupon code for any single purchase here at the site, whatever it may be. 25 October, 25 October, 25, and then spell out October, and off you go. Now, in terms of this game tonight, I mean, if you're going to play the total, I mean, I don't really like it. but I'm going to give you my opinion on it, okay? I think you go with the over. I mean, you've got two teams that score a lot of points. Lafayette leads the Sun Belt Conference in scoring, averaging 38.5 points a game. Meanwhile, Arkansas State right on the heels. They're number 2 in total offense in the conference. Last year these two teams combined for over 70 points. They both have strong ground games. They both have more than adequate quarterbacks. Neither one of them play a hell of a lot of defense, to be honest with you. I thought an interesting stat in researching this contest was their red zone efficiency. Lafayette, number 1 in red zone efficiency, converting 90% of their times. Arkansas State, 88.5% of their red zone opportunities have produced points. So again, statistically speaking, I think you got to play the over in this contest. I don't think it's going to be like Baylor scoring 77 points week in and week out, but I think you can see somewhere in the 70s be scored in this particular contest. Let's talk about the week in review here. I'm watching the Texas A&M game against Auburn on Saturday with great interest, since I, of course, had a losing 10-9 play on Texas A&M on that particular day. And my takeaway impression from that game is that Alabama couldn't stop the Aggies' offense and Johnny Manziel playing in College Station in that highly viewed game earlier this season. Well, Texas A&M plays no defense. I mean, that's certainly something we know about. I mean, Auburn had 379 yards rushing and 615 total yards in that contest, and the upset went on Saturday. And, Auburn loves to run and throw the ball. They've got a dynamic offense, and I'm thinking to myself, when the Iron Bowl comes around the corner here a month and a half from now, is Alabama going to be able to stop Auburn? Alabama couldn't stop Texas A&M. Why should the Crimson Tide be able to stop an Auburn team that you got to feel is only going to mature offensively as the season progresses? And I'll tell you what, I didn't see it coming. But Nick Marshall, who had missed the Auburn Tigers' previous game against Western Carolina with a sore knee, I mean, true, it came against a junior high school defense in Texas A&M, but he had one hell of a game. I mean, he completed 11 and 23 passes for 236 yards and a couple touchdowns, but then he ran 20 times for another 100 yards as well. And I think that's the type of offense that will give Alabama problems. Looking at the Texas Tech contest, if you look at the final score, you see Texas Tech won 37-27 at West Virginia. But here's the deal. The Red Raiders were down by double digits in the third quarter before scoring the final 21 points of that game. Their quarterback, Davis Webb, first road start, 462 yards. He's made 2 starts. He's topped 400 yards in both contests. Not too shabby. Georgia, oh my God, what a collapse by the Bulldogs. Granted, they have got a lot of injury concerns, but you're still up 27-14 in Nashville against Vanderbilt, and you allow the Commodores to score the final 17 points of that game to roll off with the win. Oklahoma and Kansas. Charlie Weiss, hired as the Kansas coach a couple of years ago. He is this offensive guru. That's what he's always been known for, okay? I don't get it. I mean, Oklahoma beat Kansas 34-19. Oklahoma was down 13-0 in the first quarter. The Jayhawks had 165 total yards. They were moving the ball efficiently. They still had a 7-point lead when Weiss changed quarterbacks. He took Jake Heaps, the guy who I think used to be at BYU, wasn't it? And transferred, sat out a year. And true, Heaps wasn't playing well. 5 for 1,300, just 16 yards passing in that contest. But he sits down Heaps, and he goes with this freshman, Montel Kozarts, I think is his name, making his season debut, right? He's this dual-threat quarterback. Well, he didn't attempt the pass. He carried the ball 3 times for 8 yards. And the Jayhawks offense, they had 165 yards up to that point. They had 36 yards total the rest of the game. I mean, it's one of those ones, makes you want to scratch your head and wonder why. How about Duke? You see that Duke won at Virginia 35-22. Do you realize Duke was down 22-0 in that contest? And how about the Blue Devils? They're suddenly 5-2 on the season. 4 fourth-down conversions for the Blue Devils in the second half of that game. Oklahoma State, 24-10 win over TCU. Interesting thing that I took from that game. Both teams, the Horned Frogs and the Cowboys, switched quarterbacks throughout the game. And the 4 quarterbacks that played, they combined for 6 interceptions. Yeah, not exactly high-powered offenses here. You wanted to see the game that I particularly enjoyed, and I gave you a free winner on the Houston Cougars on Saturday here on the Daily Video Report. Oh my God! I've told you many times. You give me a 7-6 game, I'm ready to go to sleep. You give me a pinball style game like BYU Houston, I'm in my glory. BYU wins that game 47-46. Okay. These two teams combined for 1,164 yards in this contest. As I noted in my pregame analysis when giving you the free play on the Cougars, who were a 9.5-point home dog, yes, they entered that game 5-0, but they had played a bunch of nobodies. Southern, Temple, Memphis, a bunch of nobodies, But I still thought they were getting too many points with BYU in a sandwich situation, coming off a big game against an in-state rival with a big game with Boise State coming up here on Friday night. So I thought it was a difficult spot for the Cougars. But how bad is the Houston Cougars defense? The BYU quarterback, Taysom Hill, who was at one point this season completing like 42% of his passes and was more of a runner than anything else. 29 for 44, and he threw for 417 yards. But I'll tell you what, guys, a guy that you should keep your eye on is the Houston quarterback, making just his fourth start. He's a freshman. His name is John O'Corn. He threw for 353 yards in this contest against a pretty good BYU defense. FYI, those two quarterbacks, they combined for 6 interceptions on Saturday. Missouri, oh my God. Missouri loses James Franklin, their quarterback. They go to a guy, Matty Mock, making his first start. All he does is complete 18 of 36 passes, leads the Tigers offense, and has 500 total yards. Florida, 151 total yards for the Gators. More importantly, the Florida defense was only giving up 235 yards per game coming into this contest, and Missouri more than doubled it. And the Missouri defense, Florida quarterback Tyler Murphy, sacked 5 times. What is Murphy doing as the Florida quarterback anyway? It's just hard to believe that for a couple of decades, Florida had its pick and its choice among all the top quarterbacks in the state of Florida and elsewhere. And they haven't had a competent quarterback in how many years? It's just scary how that program's recruiting has gone downhill since the guy with the visor took off and went to Columbia, South Carolina, who, of course, now he has his own quarterback problems. Listen, Stanford, coming off the Utah loss, totally dominated UCLA. Didn't reflect it in the final score of 24-10, but Stanford had the ball for over 37 minutes in that contest. They had 419 total yards. They held the Bruins to 226 total yards in that game. And this is a Bruins team that was averaging 46 points a game coming into that contest. Baylor, I joked about the Bears earlier in this report. They only had 714 yards of total offense in the 71-7 blowout of Iowa State. The Cyclones, 174 yards. Michigan State beat Purdue 14-0. And you're going, yeah, who the hell cares? Here's what you got to take from that game. Purdue's giving up points by the bundle to everybody. And this Michigan State offense, it hasn't been able to reach the end zone on a consistent basis in a couple years, simply couldn't put points on the board. In fact, the Spartans did not cross Purdue's 32-yard line till the fourth quarter of that game. And finally, I'm looking at the Notre Dame USC game. And I mentioned on the Saturday Video Report, I was a little concerned about Notre Dame USC. I thought USC might be the play, but I wanted to stay away from that game. Notre Dame, 14-10 home win. Trojans, 121 total yards in the second half of that game. 0 for 11 in their final 11 third down tries in the contest. Meanwhile, when Tommy Rees went out, the Notre Dame quarterback with an injury, Irish had 44 total yards at that point going forward. Anyway, that'll do it, guys. Best of luck, and I will catch you again on Wednesday.